Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute, where we start the day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of our special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering a life purpose. Because we believe when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and the generations to come. So grab your coffee, friends, take a deep breath, and get ready to be uplifted as we dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our incredible guest. And that guest today is Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a joy to be here with you today.
Absolutely. Jennifer, I know that I've read some of your bio, but our audience doesn't know you. So take a few moments and just introduce yourself.
My name is Jennifer Shook. I am married to my husband, Scotty. We have a daughter, Jordan, who's 29, and I have a stepson as well who is older than her. We have a dog named Romy, who's precious to us. And we live in San Antonio, Texas. And a couple of years ago, dove into the world of life coaching and being an inner healing mentor for women. And so that is just my passion, is just to pour into women identity in Christ and just help them to remove the lies that the enemy is using against them in their life, anything that's holding them back, anything that's keeping them stuck. And God has just allowed me to use my own story and my own pain and the things that I've gone through and the things I've learned to be able to just impart that to the women that he brings my way. So I love being able to do that. That's where the beauty from ashes comes from, right?
Absolutely. A woman after my own heart. Definitely can relate to all of that. I am originally from Lubbock, Texas, which is just a few hours, north of San
Uh-huh.
Antonio. Um, so it's good to see a fellow Texan.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I have recently located to the South Carolina area, and that's just been in the past couple of months. So, miss Texas a little bit, but definitely love the green area here. I know it's greener in San Antonio, not so much in Lubbock, but do miss it
Yeah.
regardless.
Yes. Yes. Maybe you'll get some of the four seasons there in the Carolinas.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Um,
Yes.
so Jennifer, before I jump into our conversation and just, really talking about those challenging moments in your life, I'd like to start with a fun icebreaker. So my question to you is, if today had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, Lord, help me with that one. If today had a theme song, um, this is so funny, but like it's not even a Christian song, but like the Journey song, Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah, I like that
Yes.
song.
Like,
Okay.
okay, that's the first thing that came to me because that's
Mhm.
definitely what I'm doing in my life right now, is definitely holding on to some promises from God and believing for some big things and for some miracles that I don't see yet with my eyes, but I know that He has promised them. So yeah, don't stop believing.
There we go. All right. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into our conversation, Jennifer. And my question to you, just to kind of start us off, is what was the defining moment of challenge or pain in your life, and how did it impact you?
Um, so a big challenge in my life was in June of 2018. My husband, who had been sober for 17 years, relapsed.
Mm.
And it was like that is like the defining moment for me. Like I think about my life before that time and what it was like, and then what my life has been like after that. And so that I had never dealt with addiction before.
Mhm.
He had been sober all the years that I had been with him. And so I went into rescue mode and just made it all about him, wasn't even really
Mm-hmm.
thinking of myself and what I needed because I just thought,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to be a good wife. I'm going to help him. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get him what he needs. And that went on for a few years until God just brought me to the end of myself. And I realized like I had tried everything, all of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had, made all the appointments for him, helped him get into rehab. I had even tried to change myself, like, okay, let me try to be firmer and angrier or have more boundaries. And then let me try to be nicer and back off a little bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing worked. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so just God had to show me that it was time to rescue myself, right? And like I had to focus on me and what he was calling me to go after in my own healing journey and to face my fears, to face just wanting to control what was happening because I was so afraid of what could happen to my husband. Like
Mm-hmm.
he just a little part of our backstory was we actually met while he was in prison, which is a whole nother story, but he got radically saved in prison, was sober for so many years, helped a lot of people get sober and get help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was the life we lived. And so that's all I knew. And
Mm-hmm.
so my fears of him going back to prison and dying, those ruled my life. And
Yeah.
so like really asking myself, do I really trust God? Like as I've been a Christian, I was raised a Christian in a Christian home my whole life. I got saved when I was 8. I have heard about Jesus my whole life. So of
Mm-hmm.
course, like a good Christian girl is going to say, well, yeah, I trust God. Of course, I trust God. It would
Mm-hmm.
sound ridiculous for me to say I don't trust him. But when you're in a situation where it's like, it feels like life or death, it really, I had to get real. Like, do I really trust that God has me and that he has good things in store for me and that he's going to take care of my husband and he's going to protect him? If I can release him and completely surrender
Mm-hmm.
control to him. Can I trust him with that? And that was hard, and it's not a one-time decision, right? The surrendering, it's an everyday thing. And sometimes for me in the middle of that, it was more than one time a day. It was several
Mm-hmm.
times a day, just surrendering him to God. And so we went through a lot after that. He went back to jail for a year. And he came out. He's been home 2 years now, was sober for a while, and is
Mm-hmm.
still struggling. We're still in it.
Wow.
We're still in the process and it's hard. And so it's a daily surrender of giving my husband over to Jesus, but also still trying to find purpose in my own life and not just
Mm-hmm.
being so consumed with everything he's doing. And that's where the life coaching came in, where um I knew that God was calling me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I didn't want, if we're going to go through something so painful and we can't use it to help others, then what's the point, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I knew I needed to be able to share what I had been through with other women and to be able to help other women. And so in 2019 was when I got my life coaching certification, but then I kind of put it on the side for a little bit because things were still very chaotic with my
Mm-hmm.
husband and active addiction. And so in 2023 is when I really just started to take steps, and God just told me one step at a time. Because when you live in addiction, it's hard to think past today or tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
because the thought of like even the question, well, what are you going to do? Like, I don't know. I just know that what I'm going to do today is
Mm-hmm.
this. I really learned how to stay in today. God gives me grace for today. And so it's hard to plan future because you just don't know. There's so many uncertainties. And I was living in survival mode and just, you're walking on eggshells, just wondering what's going to happen next. When's
Mm-hmm.
the next shoe going to drop? How can I plan a business? What if I have clients and something happens with my husband and then I don't have
Yeah.
the capacity to even show up for them? What do I do then? So I was always thinking those things in my mind constantly. And
Mm-hmm.
God just kept pushing me and giving me little nudges, and he used people in my life to help encourage me and just said, just take one step, just
Mm-hmm.
one step. And so that's what I did, just small little steps at a time, one day at a time. And God has helped me to grow that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm continuing to work with women and to share my story. And not all of the women that come to me are dealing with addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kinds of things that have to do with relationships and that, but it's all around identity. Everything comes back to our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I have learned on my own journey and that I've experienced is I had a coach the last 7 years of my life. God put an amazing friend in my life who has been my coach, and I learned how to just go through inner healing with her. She
Mm-hmm.
did it a different way. I had never experienced that before, just inviting Jesus into our memories and into our pain and allowing him to heal it. And so because I experienced that in my journey, that's what I do with my clients as well. Is yes, it's some talking and it's some asking questions, but it's also um prayer, listening prayer, freedom prayer, inner healing. It's called so many different things, but
Mm-hmm.
Jesus knows right where to take us. He knows right where the pain started. He knows where the lies started. And so, of course, we want to invite him in, right? We want to ask him the question.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Wow, and that's beautiful. And I like the and I just get the vision of inviting God back into those moments where you were most scared or hurting or whatever it is, the trauma, right?
Right.
Going back and saying, Jesus, heal this for me. Just to really truly once you start seeing that, you start seeing that Jesus was already there with you. Like you were
Yes,
never really alone, right?
right.
Man, wow. And I mean, that's one area that I just am learning through others. Having been partnered with someone that has an addiction or maybe a child that has an addiction, because that's hard on the
Yes,
person that's, in that relationship with that person, that they're having to struggle and manage the addictive part. Um, which has
yes.
nothing to do with the alcohol. It has nothing to do with, the drugs or whatever it is that they're addicted to. It has everything to do with addiction being a disease and that they're having to battle. But to
Absolutely.
be a person watching someone you love go
Oh my,
through that, and not only that, but to have known your husband sober for so
yes,
long and
yes,
just on fire for God and Jesus and going out there to have a moment of setback and relapse and and then still walking through that storm. um
yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing your vulnerability. I think that's
yeah,
brave. I think that's courageous. And you said in the beginning, as you're introducing yourself, we need to be honest about our stories because that's how we help
right.
others through their storms, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's peel it back a little bit and talk a little bit about that healing and growth season for yourself as you're starting to define or maybe starting to see the purpose in it all. Like before you stepped into coaching, I mean, obviously that was the purpose that was revealed to you is like helping others. But let's talk about that growing season and that healing season. Like, what was that like for you? What kind of things did you start putting in place to help you
Hmm.
be stable?
Right. Yes, that was so important. And it was amazing because right before my husband relapsed, a friend of mine had invited me to a retreat.
Hmm.
And that retreat was really instrumental in my life. And it was a bunch of women from a lot of different churches all coming together. And Lene, who is my coach, she's the one that put that retreat on. And I started coaching with her a couple weeks after that and just had a really amazing session where I dealt with a big lie that I had believed about God, that God was my
Hmm.
punisher. And we dealt with that. And so I know that was the timing of that was perfect because, if I continued coaching with her, I still coach with her to this day.
Hmm.
But if I would not have started my own healing journey then and really started dealing with the lies that I was believing about God and myself and everything, then I don't even know if I'd be sitting here right now. I really don't,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not sure how I would have responded to everything that was happening. And so
Mm-hmm.
as I kept moving through it, I continued to go to the retreats that she would put on. I was surrounding myself with just all these amazing women who were on a journey to, everybody was hungry for more of God. We just wanted more.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was different. Everybody's background was different. And so I connected with these women all throughout the years, the last 7 years. I'm still connected with so many of them. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a big, big part of it. Just working my own healing journey without my husband. And
Mm-hmm.
my husband and I did do counseling together, a lot of counseling together, which was helpful. And that was, a pivotal moment was actually with our counselors where I share this story a lot because it was a turning point for me when we're sitting on their couch and my husband is still in active addiction, and we show up and we're sitting on the opposite edges of the couch,
Mm-hmm.
and he's had been drinking. And so and I go into that session that night thinking, because I had been praying with a bunch of friends and we were just praying and believing for breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get there, our counselors, they were focused on me and they kept asking me a bunch of questions. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, do you not see? Look at him. He's on your couch drunk right now, and you're not even you're not even asking him anything. You're talking to me about my stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they were focusing on control. And they were like, Jen, we really think we want to dive into this control thing with you. Like there's some stuff there that God is after. And I'm like, I'm not controlling. No, I'm not. What are you talking about? Like I was totally oblivious to that. But
Uh-huh.
God used that moment in my life to really, dive into that and look at it, because I was so mad about it. I'm like, okay, God, maybe there's something to that. Let me, we continued that conversation and we laugh about it now, like with our counselors, like it's a joke now because I was so mad that day.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I was looking at myself as, well, look, I'm the good one. He's the one who's so messed up. He's the one that has all the problems. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but what God started to show me was my issues. I had issues. My
Mm-hmm.
issues just looked cleaner and more respectable, right? Like I had self-righteousness, I had pride, I had control issues, and I was afraid. But my husband's issues were just out there for the whole world to see. It was easy to pick up on his junk, because he's an addict. And like, it's so much easier to judge that stuff. But my
Mm-hmm.
issues were internal issues, and they just looked respectable to people, right? Oh, look at her. She's standing by her husband. She has so much faith. That's so inspiring. But God knew what was
Mm-hmm.
going on the inside of me, and he was after that stuff. He wanted to deal with, where did that control start? That's not who he had me to be,
Wow.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So God used those counselors in my life in a huge way. And that really shifted my own journey too, to really start looking at myself and other things that I was doing and how I had
Mm-hmm.
contributed to this mess too, right? It wasn't just all his mess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just community, my own one-on-one work with my coach, my time with Jesus. I love to journal. I have so many journals full
Mm-hmm.
of prayers and thoughts and sadness and anger and all the feelings, right? Just letting it all out to Jesus. But really, like, and people are so important. The community that God put around me, I know I wouldn't be where I am today if I did not have those people. It's such an important piece of the puzzle when you're going through something really painful.
I just want to just take a moment to recognize how you mentioned, like, in a relationship there's two parties, and
Yeah.
so the responsibility or the fault um, doesn't fall on just one person. Like it's two people in the equation that are making these things happen. So I heard that when you were talking about, yeah, and then you're being very vulnerable, talking about like I discovered had some control things there that I needed to work through. Um, as
Wow.
a coach, I find those things that tend to be most tender or triggering, or the things that when you hit and it's like an anger
Yeah.
response or something, you might want to look at that. Let's reflect a
Right.
little bit because it tends to be true, because it tends to be something that we really do struggle with, whether
Mm.
it's been identified and we're self-aware enough to know like, oh yeah, you're hitting it, you're hitting it, you're hitting
Yes.
that core. Or maybe it hasn't been brought to the surface to where we don't recognize it. And then it's like when it is brought up, that's why we get that response of anger or withdraw or shut down, or, the response of, well, you just don't understand, or you're just not hearing me, or,
Right.
those little responses back.
Yes. Yes.
Man. And so I think that's just beautiful that you're able to acknowledge that. And I think again, that's very brave because I've gone through divorces. I've seen friends go through divorces, and
Yeah.
there always is blame. Like it wasn't me. It wasn't the reason the marriage didn't work because it wasn't me and it was them.
Right.
But it really, and I've always walked away going, it takes two to make a relationship. It takes two to break it. So there's fault. And I use that term loosely because I don't like to, but I say there are two truths,
Yeah.
and everybody walks out right. Like
Right.
everybody's
Absolutely.
right. Um, if you want to
Yes.
look at it that way, because there are two people that either decided, you know what, it's just not going to work out. So we're going to make that happen, and divorce
Right.
results, or, you put the work in. So, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Um, so how has this all shaped who you are today?
Oh my gosh, I am not the same person I was 7 years ago. No,
Hmm.
I you know, I think I think that God works with us in layers. He
Hmm.
and so I had definitely done work on myself before the last 7 years. And so I don't want to take away from that because I know that, yes, God peels back the layers and things in our life. And the last 7 years in my husband's addiction, it was just much deeper layers that he was after,
Hmm. Hmm.
bringing me a lot more freedom. And so just even the way I have learned to respond, because I really struggled so much with just that self-righteousness, religious spirit attitude that
Hmm.
like there's a right and a wrong way to do things. And if you're not doing it the right way, something's wrong with you. Like that just, it's already in my personality where I'm pretty much very black and white.
Hmm.
So that just fit right in with like, just do what you're supposed to do. Just follow the rules, do the right
Hmm.
thing. Why can't you do the right thing? And I didn't have a lot of grace. I thought I did, but I've learned over the last 7 years that I really didn't. And even
Hmm.
grace for myself, and allowing
Hmm.
giving myself permission. That's been a huge thing. Giving myself permission to grieve, giving myself permission to feel all the things that I needed to feel.
Hmm.
Um, Giving myself permission to take care of myself and do things that I needed for me when you're constantly living in stress with addiction. It does something to your body, it does something to your physical body, right?
Hmm.
And so there's just things that you need to that it's okay to do to take care of yourself and to take the time to do that. And so learning that that's okay, that it's not selfish. Um, and a big lesson that I've learned in a way that I've changed is just you never know what you're going to do until you're in the situation. And I would have
Hmm.
been the first friend in the past who would have jumped in. If I was looking at someone living out what I've gone through, I would have been the first one to say, "What are you doing? Get out of there. Leave. You don't deserve to be treated this way.
Hmm.
Come on, like it." I know I would have. Um,
Hmm.
and you you don't know what you're going to do until you're living it. And
Yeah.
so I'm very slow to give any kind of, well, not slow is not the right word. I think really carefully about what I'm going to say to people because it's so easy to judge someone's situation and say, well,
Mm,
you should just do this. You just need to do this. When even if it's someone that understands addiction, like everybody's story is different. And
mhm,
God knows exactly what each one of us needs. And it's not going to be the same. He's not a cookie cutter God where we just all have the same plan, right? And so I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge people's decisions. I'm going to pray. I'm going to encourage. I'm going to speak truth. Like people did that for me on my journey. They spoke life into me. They believed with me. They didn't give up because I didn't
mhm,
want to give up on my marriage. And so the people that were close to me during that time, they didn't give up. They not only were believing for me, but they were also believing for my husband. And
mhm,
but that doesn't mean they just told me whatever I wanted to hear either. You know, they
mhm,
spoke truth. And so it's all of it. Um, and so yeah, just learning that it, you don't really know what people are going through, you know.
mhm.
You really don't. And we don't know what we would do. We really don't until you're living it, until you're in the situation. I've done all kinds of things that I thought I would never do, you know, living
Yeah.
addiction with my husband.
Mm,
And so,
yeah.
yeah,
I appreciate that response too, because coming from a person that stepped out of a domestically violent relationship, you
yeah,
always hear like, "Well, why don't you just leave? You must like getting hit around." Like
right.
who likes that? Nobody.
Of course not.
Nobody likes it. Um, but I appreciate that because you don't understand all the factors that are in place. And especially when you're in a marriage that has, invested so many years. Like it's not like I just met someone and this is happening, so I can easily,
Right.
just turn around and just let that all go. I mean, there's so much to it.
Yes.
So I appreciate that you're being so honest and saying you really don't know what you would do in that situation. It's easy, again, coming from a judgment perspective. It's easy to judge and say, "Hey, why don't you just leave? Like, what's the problem? You must
Right.
like that stuff or whatever."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but you're really just passing judgment onto someone, and you really don't know. So I appreciate that. But
Thank you.
speaking of advice and things like that, what would you advise someone who is currently maybe in that situation where they're in that rock bottom moment, they don't know what to do or where to turn? What would you suggest to
Um,
them?
I would say you've got to reach out to at least one person. You can't
Hmm.
go through it alone.
Yeah.
If you isolation is a scary thing when you're going through really painful things. And so finding one person that you can trust, whether it's a friend or a family member or a counselor or a coach or somebody, just
Hmm.
at least one person. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people. In fact, bringing too many people into the journey is not good either, because then you have too many voices that you're trying to muddle through all the advice, and then that
Hmm.
gets to be too much, right? So finding one or two people that you can invite in and be real with,
Hmm.
and you know that they're going to be willing to walk out the journey with you and just be there, whether it's just to listen or to encourage, to pray, just to you need a voice, you need a sounding board, you need someone that
Hmm.
you know, no one needs to be alone, right? No one needs to be alone when you're going through something that's really painful.
And that's important. You're not the first person to be on the podcast to say community, community, community. You do
Yeah.
want to find people that are in your circle that are going to support you with wisdom and guidance, godly guidance. Because when you are looking for an answer outside of yourself, then that's when you open yourself up to so many people and but you're really looking for just justification on a decision you've already made. You just haven't
Right.
come to terms with it. So when you decide like I'm gonna stay committed into this marriage and I'm gonna walk through with my husband, through this journey. So I need someone that are gonna support me in this decision I've made and they're
Yeah.
gonna, keep me prayed up and keep
Yeah.
me spiritually filled. And that way I can continue to work
Hmm.
with my husband through this journey. Um, Good
Yes.
advice, very good advice. So, Jennifer, what does living with purpose look like for you now?
Um, Living with purpose looks like allowing God to um, take our stories and use it for something good, like even showing up to share on a podcast or sharing with
Mhm,
a friend or coaching women. The way I love to describe it is like, if God can't take the ashes of my story and turn it into something beautiful, then what was the point? Why did I go through all of that? And so being able to share and help someone else, actually it's encouraging and it's uplifting, and you can pour faith into other people. And also I've learned that I I don't need to wait until everything's perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. And that was one thing that I struggled with. Like, I
mhm,
need to wait until my husband is completely sober, or I need to wait until we're at a better place in our marriage. And God spoke to me this last spring and said, "No, you're going to show up right in the middle of it. When you're still
mhm,
going through it, you're going to show up, because that's what people want and need. Nobody wants fake. Nobody wants anybody that has it all together, because they can't relate to that, right?
mhm,
We connect to people that are real and raw and vulnerable and share the painful things. And so he made it very clear that, okay, you're going to keep sharing, you're going to keep moving forward and taking steps, even though there's still some chaos going on in your life, right? And it's okay to pause for a day or 2 days, but we're not going to shut down. I'm not going to completely shut it down, right? Like, that was something
mhm,
I would do in the past. And so, um, yeah, just day by day, continuing to show up and allowing God to use the pain of my
mhm.
story for something good and for His glory, right?
Amen. Amen, sister. Yes.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
but yes, for all for his glory. Because I know when I was in that moment of rock bottom, the words spoken to me were be a light in someone else's darkness. I mean, and that's what it's all for. Because I remember
Yeah.
asking him that exact question. What is it
Yes.
all for, Lord? Why? Why? But
Yes.
that's why, like we all make you've heard the term, you've made your bed, now lay in it, and we do. We lay in it, but it's not intended for us to stay there. We need to get up out of that bed and learn our lessons and move forward for
Right.
sure and help others because
Yeah.
we're here to commune with each other in, the light of God so that we can
Hmm.
all know his love for sure.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
Jennifer,
Absolutely.
my question, as we get ready to kind of close out our conversation, I do have another question for you of legacy and impact. I ask this of all of my guests, but if
Yeah.
today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
Mm. Um, if today were my last day, I would want to be remembered for just how I love people, how I show
Mhm,
up for people. That's what Jesus does for us. He walks closely with us through all of it, the good and the bad. He's with us in all of it. And so, yeah, I don't want to be known for how I judged people, or all the things that I thought was wrong with people. I want to be known for, how did I encourage people? How did I show up for them? How did I love them and
mhm,
help them through some of their darkest moments? And just, it's relationship, right? Walking side by side with people and showing grace, showing love, forgiving, all of those things.
mm, beautiful. And so, my last question, as we get ready to end our conversation, is if you could leave maybe a word of encouragement or a bit of truth to someone out there that's still trying to figure out their purpose, what would
Mm.
it be?
If you're trying to figure out your purpose, I think you look at your life historically, right? And you look at the things that you've been through,
Mhm,
and the things that just, even the things that really irritate you in life, or that you get really passionate about and you get upset about, like, whatever those things are, that there's something that you have to offer that, right? If
mhm,
you're passionate about it, then it's going to be something that you're going to want to pour your life into. And of course, our legacy and our purpose is going to have to do with the things that we've been through, the stories that we can share with others, all of the
Yeah.
things that we've overcome. That just looking at the things that God has brought us through in life, I feel like just points to our purpose. Our most painful moments point to our purpose that he has for us.
I really do. They really do. They really do. Okay. So Jennifer, let's say someone's out there listening and they're like, you know what? Jennifer's the coach that I need. I need to get in contact with her. How can they contact you?
They can go to my website, jennifershook.com, and I have a free connection call. I love to hear people's stories and,
Mhm.
just hear where they're at and what's going on in their life. And so I would love to be able to chat with anyone and just listen, pray. And you can also find my social media links on my website, and there's some free resources on there as well. So yeah, I would love to be able to get on a call with them and just hear their story.
Wonderful. Well, if you didn't catch that information, that's okay because it'll be posted next to this interview content. All right, Jennifer, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. It's conversations like this that reminds us that purpose isn't about perfection. It's about showing up and growing through the things that we go through, trusting that every step matters. Here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So friend, wherever you are today, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. Until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, keep walking boldly into the life God has designed for you. I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.